My parents told me, Santa only rewards the kids who are genuinely kind-hearted. I remember that Christmas like it happened yesterday. I was 7, and the snow outside had already covered the streets in a thick, sparkling blanket. My parents, sitting by the fire with mugs of hot cocoa, looked at me seriously and said, Santa only rewards the kids who are genuinely kind-hearted. I stared at them, confused. I had always believed in Santa, but this felt different. It wasn't just about being good. It was about what was inside me. They smiled, and my dad whispered, "We'll see if you understand it soon enough." Later that night, I tiptoed downstairs to check the tree. I expected to see presents, but there was nothing. Just a small, folded note with delicate handwriting. I opened it and read, "The greatest gift comes to those who give without expecting anything." At first, I didn't understand. I felt a little disappointed, until I heard a soft sob from outside. My neighbor, little Emma, had dropped her bag of groceries in the snow and was struggling to pick them up. Without thinking, I ran outside to help. As I handed her the last can of soup, I noticed something strange. The snow seemed to glimmer around us, and a warmth spread through my chest, almost like magic. That night, when I returned inside, there was a single, tiny present under the tree. A wooden toy car, carefully carved and painted. A note inside read, "Kindness is noticed, even when no one else sees it." From that moment, something inside me changed. I realized that Santa's magic wasn't about toys. It was about what we do for others, quietly, without reward. The next morning, I woke up with the wooden toy car in my hands, tracing the tiny wheels with my fingers. I couldn't stop thinking about the note. Kindness is noticed, even when no one else sees it. Those words echoed in my mind all day. At school, I watched kids pushing and teasing each other, and a strange thought struck me. What if magic is not about catching Santa, but about noticing what others need and helping them? During lunch, I saw a boy named Tommy sitting alone. He had just moved to our town and didn't know anyone. I remembered my parents' words and my note from last night. Without thinking, I went over and asked him to join me. At first, he was shy, barely saying a word. But by the end of lunch, he was laughing at a joke I told. I didn't know it then, but that small gesture would change everything. After school, I went outside to play in the snow. I was building a snowman when I noticed an old man struggling to carry a heavy bag of firewood. Everyone else just walked by, but I felt something inside me pushing me forward. I ran over and offered to help. The old man's face lit up with gratitude, and he said something I would never forget. "You have a good heart, young one. Don't ever lose it." That evening, when I returned home, the tiny wooden car was gone from under the tree, replaced by a small, hand-painted box. Inside was a miniature sleigh with little, sparkling figures, Santa, reindeer, and children, along with a new note. "You are learning the true meaning. Keep going. There is more to see." The note filled me with excitement, but also a strange sense of anticipation. What could possibly come next? I felt like I was part of something bigger than myself, something magical. Over the next few days, I became obsessed with kindness. I helped my neighbors shovel snow, picked up litter around the neighborhood, and shared my lunch with kids who had none. With every act, I felt that same warmth in my chest, the kind of warmth that made everything else in the world fade away, if only for a moment. Then, one evening, a knock on the door changed everything. I opened it to find a little girl, crying in the snow. She had lost her kitten and didn't know where to look. My heart ached. I grabbed my coat and flashlight, and we searched the streets together. Hours passed. My fingers were numb. My cheeks stung from the cold, but I couldn't stop. Finally, we heard a faint meow from behind a snowbank. The kitten, trembling and scared, ran to her arms. The girl hugged it tightly, tears mixing with laughter. And when I returned home that night, under the tree was not a toy, not a note, but something far stranger. A soft, glowing light, hovering in the air for a few moments before fading into a warmth in my chest. It was the first time I felt magic. Not from Santa, not from gifts, but from what I had done for someone else. And I knew in that moment that my parents were right. True magic isn't found in the things we receive. It's found in the things we give, in the courage to care, and in the love we put into every action, no matter how small. That night, I made a promise to myself. Every year, no matter what, I would try to live in a way that earned that magic. I didn't know how far it would take me, but I felt it, deep in my chest, glowing like the warmest fire. The following winter felt different. I wasn't just the little kid who believed in Santa anymore. I felt like I was part of a story bigger than myself. Every act of kindness seemed to ripple outward. The small things I did, helping neighbors, sharing my lunch, rescuing stray animals, were no longer just lessons. They felt like steps towards something extraordinary, something magical waiting to reveal itself. One snowy evening, as I walked home from school, I noticed a small group of kids huddled near the playground. They were whispering, laughing, but one boy sat alone on a swing, shivering, clearly afraid to join them. I approached him. His name was Max. He had recently lost his parents and was living with an aunt who barely had time for him. I offered him a scarf and asked if he wanted to swing with me. Hesitant at first, he slowly nodded. As we swung together, I felt something in the air shift. The snow around us seemed to glimmer, faintly at first, then brighter, as if responding to our small act of compassion. That night, when I returned home, I found another mysterious gift under the tree. This one was different. It wasn't a toy or a note. It was a tiny, intricately carved box. Inside was a miniature village made of glass, delicate and shining, with tiny people helping one another, sharing food, giving blankets, comforting the sad. A note accompanied it. You are beginning to understand. The heart that gives without expecting sees wonders beyond imagination. I held that tiny village in my hands for hours, imagining that each figure represented a choice I could make, each act of kindness I could give. It filled me with determination. I wanted to see more of this magic, to know if I could truly earn it. The next challenge came sooner than I expected. One night, my little sister fell ill. The flu had taken her quickly, and our parents were too busy with work to be home for a few hours. I stayed by her side, holding her hand, making her laugh and bringing her water. I was scared. I had never felt so powerless, but I didn't leave her. I whispered to her, "You're going to be okay. I'm here." When she finally drifted off to sleep, I heard a faint jingling sound in the house. I followed it to the living room and froze. Snow was falling inside the room. Not just ordinary snow, but sparkling snow that glowed softly, reflecting the warm lights of the Christmas tree. And under the tree, a large box appeared, wrapped in paper that shimmered like starlight. Inside was a note that simply read, "The greatest magic is not in gifts. It is in your courage, your compassion, and the love you give freely. You are ready." I didn't know what ready meant at first, but that night, I slept with a strange sense of peace. Something had shifted inside me. I felt stronger, braver, and more connected to the world than ever. From that moment, I began noticing things I had never seen before. Small miracles. The way neighbors started helping each other more. The laughter of children in places that had been quiet. The tiny acts of generosity that seemed to bloom everywhere I went. I realized that maybe, just maybe, this magic wasn't about Santa visiting houses. It was about how one heart, one person, could start a chain reaction of goodness that spread far beyond them. That Christmas Eve, I couldn't sleep. My heart was pounding with anticipation, though I didn't know why. Something told me that this year would be different. I wrapped my coat tightly around me and quietly stepped outside. The snow was falling softly, blanketing the streets in silence, but there was a strange glow in the distance. Curious, I followed it. It led me to the park where I had helped Max swing and where I had spent hours shoveling snow for neighbors. And there, in the middle of the snow-covered playground, I saw something I could hardly believe. A circle of soft, shimmering light hovering above the ground. Inside the circle were faintly glowing figures. Children, animals, neighbors, and even people I hadn't met yet. Smiling, helping each other, sharing warmth and laughter. I froze. My heart felt like it might burst. Could this be magic? And then, I heard it. A gentle voice, soft but clear, almost like the wind itself was speaking. You have given your heart freely, without expecting anything. Tonight, you will see what true kindness creates. The glowing figures slowly moved toward me. Max appeared first, smiling widely, followed by Emma, the little girl whose kitten I had saved, and even my parents, though I didn't see them leave their house. Every person I had ever helped, or simply shown care to, was there, and they were all shining with the same warm light that now filled the air around me. Then, the snow around me began to swirl faster, sparkling brighter, forming shapes of reindeer, sleighs, and a figure in a red coat. But unlike any Santa I had imagined, this Santa was made of light and warmth itself. His eyes glowed kindly, and he looked straight at me, smiling. You see, it is not the gifts you receive that matter, the figure said, voice echoing like the soft chime of bells, but the love and kindness you share. This is the true magic of Christmas, and it has chosen you. At that moment, I felt an incredible warmth fill my entire body. Every act of kindness I had ever done, every time I had helped someone without expecting anything, every choice to care. It all came together in a wave of light that made the world around me shimmer and glow. I felt weightless, connected to every person, every creature, every tiny act of goodness I had ever witnessed or performed. The glowing Santa reached out a hand, and in it appeared a tiny wooden ornament, shining brighter than any star. I took it, and suddenly, I understood. This ornament wasn't just a gift. It was a symbol of all the love, courage, and kindness I had shared, and of the chain reaction it had created in the world. The light slowly faded, leaving the snow sparkling and the night peaceful. I stood alone in the park for a moment, but I wasn't lonely. I felt the presence of all the lives I had touched, all the magic that kindness could create. And I knew, deep in my heart, that this feeling, the warmth, the glow, the connection, was something that would stay with me forever. That night, I returned home with tears in my eyes, not for myself, but for the magic I had witnessed. I finally understood what my parents had meant. Santa only rewards the kids who are genuinely kind-hearted. And the reward? It wasn't toys or candy or even praise. It was the knowledge that the world could be brighter, warmer, and more magical because of the choices I made to care. From that Christmas onward, every act of kindness I gave, no matter how small, felt like planting a seed of magic. And every year I made sure to remind everyone, my friends, my family, even strangers, that true magic exists, and it begins with the heart. Because the real Santa, the real magic, isn't something you see under the tree. It's the love, courage, and kindness you carry, and the difference you make in the lives of others. Years passed and I grew older. The wooden toys, glowing ornaments, and shimmering notes became memories, but the lessons they carried stayed with me. I became more aware of the world around me. The small struggles, the quiet sorrows, the hidden acts of courage, and I realized that every choice I made could either add light or leave darkness behind. I went off to college and the lessons of kindness guided me. I tutored struggling classmates, volunteered at shelters, and wrote letters to lonely elderly people. Every time I helped someone, I remembered that glowing night in the park, the magical Santa, and the sense of connection I had felt. It wasn't about recognition or reward. It was about making the world brighter, one small act at a time. One Christmas, when I returned home, I found my little cousins huddled around the tree, whispering about whether Santa would visit them. I smiled and remembered my parents' words. Santa only rewards the kids who are genuinely kind-hearted. I knelt down and said, you know, Santa isn't just about toys. Santa is magic you carry in your heart. Every time you help someone, every time you show kindness without expecting anything back, you're part of it. You're Santa too. Their eyes widened, and for the first time, I saw understanding in them. Not just belief, but realization. And that night, I left a small note for each of them. The greatest magic comes from what you give, not what you receive. Choose kindness. Over the years, I watched them grow, seeing the same warmth and courage appear in their actions. And I knew that the magic of that snowy Christmas Eve the one that had changed everything for me, was no longer mine alone. It lived in the hearts of everyone I had touched, and in every child who would carry it forward. As I stood by the window that night, watching snowflakes dance in the golden glow of the streetlights, I finally understood the full truth. Santa's reward is endless, because kindness itself is infinite. Every small act, every choice to help, every word of encouragement creates ripples that can spread farther than we ever imagine. And I smiled, knowing that the magic of that first Christmas, the magic of giving, caring, and loving without expecting anything in return, was alive, thriving, and unstoppable. It was real, and it would continue as long as hearts like ours chose to believe. Because Santa doesn't just visit houses. Santa visits hearts, and those who are genuinely kind-hearted carry him with them forever. Years turned into decades, and I carried that lesson with me everywhere I went. I became a teacher not just in a classroom but in life, helping children, teens, and even adults understand the power of kindness. Every time I saw someone struggle, I remembered that snowy Christmas Eve, the glowing circle of people, and the magical Santa who had shown me what true giving meant. One particularly cold winter, I was walking home from work when I saw a small family huddled on the corner. Their car had broken down, and they had no one to call. The parents looked exhausted, and the children were crying in the bitter wind. Without hesitation, I helped them push the car to a nearby gas station, offered them warm drinks, and stayed with them until help arrived. That night, I came home exhausted, but I felt a familiar warmth in my chest. The next morning, on my doorstep was a small, intricately carved box, similar to the ones I had received as a child. Inside was a tiny snow globe, and inside it, a miniature version of the family I had helped, smiling as they drove down a snow-covered road. A note accompanied it. Kindness echoes across time. Your heart shapes more than you know. That moment made me realize something incredible. The magic I had experienced as a child didn't fade. It grew stronger the more I shared it. And it wasn't limited to Christmas or snow. It was in every day, in every act of love and care. Over the years, I began to notice patterns I hadn't seen before. People I helped would go on to help others. Children I taught would grow into adults who carried the lessons forward. Even strangers seemed to understand the power of compassion, as if the invisible thread of kindness I had begun weaving so long ago had spread far beyond my sight. One winter, on Christmas Eve, I decided to return to the park where it all began. The playground was quiet, the snow sparkling, and for a moment, I felt the same anticipation I had felt as a 7-year-old. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Santa, I hope I've made you proud." And then, I felt it, the same soft warmth, like the gentle touch of countless hearts reaching out to me. I opened my eyes, and for a brief moment, the snow around me shimmered with that same magical glow. It wasn't toys or notes this time. It was a feeling, a recognition that every choice I had made to give, to care, to love had created something beautiful and lasting. I realized then that Santa isn't a single person, and magic isn't just on Christmas Eve. Santa is in all of us who choose to be kind, and the magic is in every act of love we put into the world. That night, I went home, my heart full. I left a small gift for my neighbors, a simple ornament with a note. "The magic is alive in you. Pass it on." And as I watched the snow fall gently outside, I smiled, knowing the story of kindness would never end. It would keep going, from heart to heart, across time, across generations. Because magic, real magic, lives wherever love and kindness exist. Years later, on a snowy Christmas Eve much like the one from my childhood, I returned to the town park where I had first felt Santa's magic. I wasn't alone this time. Children I had taught, neighbors I had helped, friends whose lives had been touched by small acts of kindness. They all gathered quietly, drawn there by a sense they couldn't explain. I looked around, and my heart raced. Hundreds of people, strangers and friends alike, stood together in the snow, holding candles, warm drinks, and small gifts. And then, slowly, something incredible happened. The snow around us began to sparkle with an ethereal light. It swirled, then lifted, forming shapes in the air. Reindeer, sleighs, even faint outlines of children helping each other. Animals being rescued, neighbors sharing warmth. I felt it immediately, the same warmth I had felt as a child when I first helped Emma. Only now it was multiplied 1,000-fold. The magic of kindness wasn't just in me anymore. It was in everyone who had chosen to care, to give, and to love without expecting anything in return. A soft, melodic voice echoed through the park, carrying over the falling snow. This is the reward for hearts that give freely. The magic of kindness spreads far beyond the giver. You have all made it real. I looked around and saw tears in many eyes. Children, adults, even strangers who had never met me. Every person was glowing, not with light from toys or gifts, but with the warmth of shared love, courage, and compassion. The glow of the snow reflected in their eyes, and for the first time, I truly understood the full power of what my parents had told me so long ago. Santa only rewards the kids who are genuinely kind-hearted. I lifted my hands instinctively, and a wave of light swept over everyone. It was gentle yet overwhelming, filling every heart with hope, warmth, and the certainty that even the smallest act of kindness can change the world. The children laughed, the adults smiled, and even those who had been sad or lonely felt a deep, unexplainable joy. Then, high above us, the figures of Santa and his reindeer appeared, not as toys or in stories, but as living embodiments of the love and generosity in every human heart. They glided through the sparkling sky, and I realized something profound. Santa had never been just one person. Santa was all of us, whenever we chose to act with compassion and selflessness. The glow slowly faded, leaving the park peaceful, but the feeling remained. It wasn't just magic. It was the living proof that kindness multiplies, that giving creates beauty, and that one heart's goodness can ripple through countless lives. That night, I walked home through the quiet, snow-covered streets, holding a small, glowing ornament that had appeared in my hands. It was a symbol, yes, but more importantly, it was a promise. The magic of kindness would never end, as long as hearts like ours continued to give, to love, and to care. And I knew, without doubt, that this story, my story, was not mine alone. It belonged to everyone who chose to be kind-hearted. And as the snow fell gently, I whispered to the night, "This is the true magic of Christmas, and it lives in all of us." After that magical night in the park, life didn't slow down, but everything felt different. The glow of kindness had become a part of me, and I noticed it in small, unexpected ways. Strangers would smile at me for no reason. Neighbors would wave and share stories of how tiny acts of kindness had changed their day. It was as if the magic I had first felt as a child was now a living, breathing part of the world. One year, during a particularly harsh winter, a terrible storm hit our town. Roads were blocked, electricity was out, and many families were stranded in cold homes. I immediately remembered the lessons of my childhood. The night with Emma, Max, and the glowing Santa. I rallied my friends, neighbors, and even students from my school, and together we delivered blankets, food, and warm drinks to everyone in need. Hours passed, and we were exhausted. Snow was piled high, the wind cut like ice, and yet no one complained. Something incredible happened then. As we were helping a stranded family up the hill, the snow around us began to shimmer again. Not as intensely as before, but enough that we all noticed. People started looking at each other with wide eyes. There was a silent understanding, a shared sense that something extraordinary was happening. That night, back at my house, I found a new note under the tree. It wasn't addressed to me specifically. It simply said, "The chain of kindness you started has grown. You are not alone. You never were." I sat by the fire, holding that note, and I realized that every choice I had made, every moment of courage, every act of compassion was connected. Each one had formed a thread, and all the threads had woven a tapestry of magic that stretched far beyond my imagination. Years went on, and I began teaching children not just in the classroom but in life. I told them the story of Santa, the lessons of my parents, and the magic of giving without expecting anything in return. I watched them take those lessons to heart, helping friends, rescuing animals, caring for neighbors, and I saw the same warmth I had felt as a child reflected in their eyes. One Christmas, many years later, I received a letter in the mail. It was from a girl I had helped when I was young, the one whose lost kitten I had found. She had grown into a young woman, and in her letter she wrote, "You changed my life that night. I've tried to carry the magic forward, and I see it in so many places now. Thank you for teaching me how to believe." Tears ran down my face as I read her words. I realized then that the magic wasn't about me anymore. It was about all of us. Every person who chose to give, to care, and to love freely became part of the story, part of the magic that Santa had always promised. That night, I stepped outside into the falling snow, closing my eyes and breathing it in. For a moment, I felt that familiar warmth, the glow of kindness stretching through time and space, touching people I would never meet, connecting lives I would never see. And I knew, without a doubt, that the lesson my parents had taught me, the reason Santa rewards the genuinely kind-hearted, was true, infinite, and unending. No matter how many years passed, no matter how far I traveled, the magic lived in the hearts of those who chose to care. And as long as it did, Christmas, and the true spirit of giving would never fade.